while we're geeking out a little bit, and while we're talking about some interesting things of that nature, there's always been the debate in fringe circles as to whether or not aliens or alien technology would help the Earth. And if we were to stumble upon some sort of high tech from aliens, we always have to ask ourselves, would it help us or would it hurt us? If we already stumbled upon this technology, we may be already seeing that the technology has been modified into some technological terror, highly advanced and ready to create mass death. Well, biologists who care to speculate about aliens will tell us that the beings will most definitely not come here bearing gifts or the secrets of the universe. They'll more than likely be bearing the outer space equivalent of an intergalactic Robotech boxcar and a method to haul us away to the slaughterhouses for food. That's what biologists are saying, that these aliens are not going to be nice at all. Alien war scenarios and simulations are now being conducted by governments and are reality-based now. And the war games that have been conducted by governments have actually included alien scenarios that often wind up demonstrating how aliens have the upper hand in all war game scenarios we lose. And so think of this. Imagine aliens dropping off their technology, or a technology crashes somewhere on the Earth. We've been hearing about these probes falling out of the sky. We've been hearing about, the Russian probe falling out of the sky, landing on some island somewhere. We've heard of the UARS falling out of the sky. And so all these things falling out of the sky and landing in these islands reminded me of an anime, a manga that I used to watch and I love. And I discussed this with Olaf, my producer, who turned out that he was a big fan of this show. The show's called Robotech. Macross. I know a lot of people watch this. And if you don't, you should. You should turn in your geek cred if you don't watch it, because it's an amazing show. And so... So we were kind of contemplating how, we could talk about a 30-year alien war. And who better would know about a 30-year alien war than Greg Snegoff, who actually is a veteran voice actor, writer, and also the dialogue director for Robotech. And he was Lord Chiron, he was Scott Barnard, he was a number of characters. And so what we want to do is we want to bring Greg on. Hi, Greg. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey there, Clyde. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you. How is it? It's like we're talking about, alien war scenarios, and the only thing that I can think of is Robotech and you. And I was just thinking, and you're big into this stuff, aren't you? You're into this conspiracy idea, and maybe there's a war of aliens waiting to pounce on us. I mean, the whole time you were doing Robotech, could you see some of these scenarios playing out, and can you see these ideas and theories come about that, like, for example, the idea that there's, like, this flower, and it's kind of like...
Flower of life.
Yeah, the flower of life. And it's kind of like the gold thing where, a 14 will tell you that we are somebody else's property. They were owned by these aliens or something. They come back to get us. I mean, it's all part of the Robotech, the whole Robotech genre. What were you thinking? Were you even thinking about the possibilities that these could be, I don't know, mythologies that could have some validity to them?
That was in the back of our mind. Frankly, during the 7-month period that we did 85 episodes, what was primarily on our minds was survival. Mm-hmm. Because we were doing 18 to 20-hour days, and it was a long, tough haul.
So it's a lot of work for those shows, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's probably a year and a half worth of work.
Right.
That we did in 7 months, but a lot of that stuff was there. We didn't, generally speaking, we didn't always think, well, all aliens automatically are bad or will be bad, and I still don't think that. In fact, I've come to think that a lot of government scenarios and war games and such, and propaganda saying that's it. If there's going to be any contact, it's going to be war, it's going to be slaughter and all that. And I do not agree. There may be certainly some. I mean, there ain't no one kind of alien as there is one nation on the earth. They all have different views.
Exactly.
But there are certainly those that are more technologically advanced. There are those that are more spiritually advanced. There are those that are more fourth-dimensionally technologically advanced, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not so quite so sure that what we're being told is going to actually be a future scenario.
Well, and you also deal with in the Robotech series clones.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about clones. Do you think that clones get a bad rap in science fiction? I was at a Comic-Con once, and I was on a panel, and I actually defended clones, saying they get a bad rap in science fiction. What do you think about that?
Well, we got plenty of clones. Zentradi's are clones, and Zor is a clone, and they're all through there. I mean, if a clone is truly a clone, why should it get a bad rap? It's exactly the same as the original.
Yeah. Well, I just know that when you look at most science fiction, they tend to demonize cloning, and they demonize clones. I think, though, one of the things, I don't know if you know about this, we were talking about this a couple days ago with the cloning and the chimeras that they created up at the Primate Center here in Oregon.
Right.
And we were discussing this, and we were saying, you know, these little monkeys are so adorable that they made and they cloned. I think people are starting to change their mind about cloning. I mean, would you say so?
That I don't know. I'm not following it. I don't see what we can take anything. I mean, I can understand why the fear of cloning exists. It's probably because you don't want your next door neighbor coming up with somebody exactly like him or you.
That's right.
You want it traceable.
Exactly. Unless, of course, she's pretty hot, and then maybe you'd like a clone of your neighbor.
If he or she is pretty hot, and then you might want several of them.
Yeah. Several of them that you can put in your little black book and go out with them every once in a while.
Exactly.
So,
any more like you at home, you say, yes, 6.
Greg Snegoff is my guest tonight on Ground Zero. Very happy to have him here. Of course, Robotech, the great series that you can catch anywhere. I've been catching it on Netflix. You can catch it on Hulu. And he's here to talk tonight and speak tonight about all kinds of things and answer your questions about Robotech as well, the series, and maybe even some other stuff that I want to get to about Robotech as well. You can call in tonight at 503-417-9595. That's 9KXL. Or 1-877-733-1011. Now, that's a toll-free number. So anyone listening online tonight that wants to get in, that's listening to this program, wants to talk to Greg, you sure can do it. 1-877-733-1011. And we'll be back with more. Don't go away. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
Got an opinion? Call KXL now. 503-417-9KXL or 877-733-1011. Back to Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis on FM News 101 KXL. Business as usual in the apocalypse. Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
Tonight we talk to the man in the credits of the wonderful TV series manga Robotech. Greg Snegoff is with us tonight on the program, the veteran voice actor, writer, and dialogue director of the show Robotech, and we're very grateful to have him on the program. You know, I'm looking at the chat room right now, Greg, and all I see is, I love Robotech. I got up at 6 a.m. to watch Robotech. Everybody gather around the TV. It's Robotech. So what do you think about the success and cult success of this wonderful anime show?
Can I be absolutely, totally honest?
Yeah, sure.
We thought we were putting out a piece of crap, frankly.
You did?
Because, well, excuse me, not for the quality of the show, but because we felt we didn't have enough time to do it properly. We really were not sure until it started coming out, and then we said, oh, well, maybe we're not doing quite such as bad a job as we think.
Mm-hmm.
But we were unhappy that we're being rushed through it so fast. I mean, there were to keep our sanity, we would sometimes record gag loops.
Uh-huh.
Gag lines, knowing that the next director in or next actor in would hear that and get a laugh, and that's the only reason that we did it. Well, the process was being blasted through right down to mixing so quickly that some of those gag lines are actually in the final show.
That's funny because I remember one time I actually heard the gag lines from Thundercats at one time. They had a gag reel that was kind of notorious for going through the internet, and it was quite hilarious. And I also knew somebody who was involved with Spider-Man, the cartoon. And he said there were times when they were working on projects like with Spider-Man where they actually had full frontal of Spider-Man going through the city, and it got through the editor, it got through print, and it almost got on the air until somebody saw it. And I'm like thinking, boy, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes you don't know about. Am I right?
Oh, yes.
Because, you get to the point where you're just thinking to yourself, I talked with David Prowse, the guy that played Darth Vader, and he was telling me the same thing. He said when they were doing Star Wars, he said that all the actors were looking at themselves going, what the hell are we doing? What is this? Why am I in this washer box pretending to be blowing up things? I don't see anything that I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. The dialogue is really forced. I don't know what's happening. And then we get into a theater, and the magic is there. Everything that we thought was crap was taken out in post. It was fantastic. Yeah,
that's what practically the only people who can see that, or I should say who can imagine that, see it in their heads, is the director and maybe the producer.
Well, and then you had to marry both the Macross and the both. There were two different series. Am I correct? It was like
three.
There were three. Okay, tell me about that process. What was that all about?
That is completely Carl Masek's doing.
Mm-hmm.
He had that idea. He was an extraordinary expert on Japanese animation in general. And he's the one who had that idea, worked the deal. And when he was cutting, as he started to cut the episodes, normally you would maybe do a paper edit, or you would look through all of the material first and start getting ideas of which pieces you want. He didn't do that. He would have 2 or 3 machines rolling simultaneously,
mm-hmm.
and the editor was there, and he'd just go, bang, reel 1. Okay, now reel 2, go back to 1. Now that piece from 3. Just almost stream of consciousness and creating the story as he saw fit visually at that moment. Then we would come up with the stories.
So you would get in there. They would piece together these little bits and pieces of Japanese art, Japanese dialogue.
Yeah,
and
not the dialogue.
Oh, there was no dialogue at all?
Oh yeah, there was dialogue. Sure, there was dialogue, but we threw it away because cutting the three shows together and cutting the shows within them in a different way, literally creating new stories, the dialogue had to be thrown away.
Okay. So you throw away the dialogue, and then they make the story. They tried to fit it into the animation, and then they hand you a script, and they say, okay, you got to provide the voice for these characters. And did you talk to the with the mouth, or they just insert the dialogue after?
Well, what we did, once he had an episode cut, and he had a rough storyline, he had a story idea. This is the story arc, and then he would hand it to the writers, and we would look at it and look at it and look at it and look at it until we would get the story fleshed out, and then we'd look at it some more, and dialogue would start happening. And that's the very, very difficult job of writing the dubbing adaptation. There aren't many people who do that.
Yeah, that would be difficult because when I voiced the Toxic Avenger in New York,
right.
The guy who had the voice had a very high-pitched voice. It wasn't low enough, so they called me in. And the hardest part of all was watching him move his mouth and they had me in a studio speaking at the same time as he did, and sometimes his dialogue, he would run words together, sometimes he'd say it so fast, and I'd go, how is anybody going to understand this without making it sound bad? I just figured, why don't we just make it like a Japanese anime, or make it like a Godzilla film, where it doesn't necessarily match. They didn't go for that. They didn't want that at all. Greg Snegoff is my guest tonight on Ground Zero. Robotech is what we're talking about tonight. If you have any questions, you can call us at 503-417-9595. That's 9KXL, or 1-877-733-1011. That is toll free, so if you're listening online and you want to get offline or you want to call us, be sure to do it. 1-877-733-1011. We'll be back. Keep it here on Ground Zero.